Welcome.
Got it.
Um, well, just if someone has power over you, just love them, and if they ask you to do something, just because you
Make
love them, do what they say.
Oh,
They say,
oh. So bow down to the trans folks. Got it.
yeah. Yes, you should be a servant to other people.
Especially trans folks.
Yes.
Oh. And how do you serve?
Well, I help I edify, I tell people the gospel and the truth.
Oh. Um, so since I'm transgender, can you serve me?
Well, I think you should repent, admit you're a sinner, and
Don't
turn.
we wait, don't we all? Why are you singling me out? Singling me out.
Because you just asked me to.
You okay, and you need to repent too. Where do we go from here?
We we follow Christ.
Okay. So Christ is love your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. So now what? Now do I keep being trans?
Do you keep being trans? Well, that's between you and Jesus.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good answer. That's a good answer. Are you still gonna serve me?
Yeah, I serve everyone. I'm a Christian.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna make me a mod because you're a Christian?
No, I don't like making people mods because that can lead to abuse. I don't want to give you that temptation. It could be a stumbling block.
Oh, okay. Got it. Got it. And how is atheism irrational?
Because like the Christian God would be like the source of rationality. So
Got it. Got it.
it would make sense to that you could use your own reason. Like people take their reason for granted,
Mm.
but your reasoning comes from God.
Oh, is
So
Jesus God?
yeah.
Oh, so is God? So is Jesus? Was Jesus a man?
Well, there's a pre-incarnate Jesus and then there's the incarnate Jesus. The incarnate Jesus was a man. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So our religion isn't just made up crap because it's anchored to a real person who existed in history.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's lit.
Have you witnessed any miracles?
I mean, I don't really like to talk about that.
Oh,
I've seen some supernatural things. I could say that.
really? That's kind of scary.
Yeah, but that's not why I'm a Christian.
Oh, okay. Why are you a Christian?
Because I read the gospel and
Why do people say the can you isn't why don't you just say the Bible?
uh,
I'm just asking from okay. You don't know.
I don't know. I guess I like the word gospel more.
Oh god.
So
Okay.
I read the Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, right? And I listened to what Jesus had to say, and I have to say I agree with his message for humanity. And so I'm like, well, if I agree with Jesus, I should follow Jesus.
Right.
So, do you disagree with Jesus' message?
Oh, absolutely not. Love your neighbor.
Right? It's pretty I mean, it's pretty hard to deny what he says is true.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I
I
guess
appreciate
follow
you
him.
for being a Christian.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you have a close relationship with Jesus and stuff, because I think that's the best.
Wait, because what?
I want the best for everyone.
Oh, you want the
Yeah.
best for me?
Yeah, and I think like the best for people is a relationship with Jesus, because like I know personally how much she's helped my life. So
Yeah. I mean, Jesus was definitely liberal and stuff. So,
okay, yeah,
oh, nice feet. I'm just kidding. All right,
uh,
thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Have a nice day.
You too. Bye bye.
Can't remember who was first. I wish I would tell me who's been waiting longer. Welcome, neighbor.
Hello, what's up?
What would you like to say?
Um, I disagree with science as a theistic concept.
Well, the problem is science assumes a bunch of things it can't demonstrate that it would rely on the Christian God for.
Um, can you give an example?
Well, one thing is like an ethics. So you have to be like honest in science, and you have to care about truth. So science can't give a reason why those things are the case. Where the Christian God does. Jesus says, I am the truth. Follow me. I am the way. So we ought seek truth, and the truth has like value.
You don't think that truth and honesty could arise because, so like, if I make an observation about the world, which is pretty much all that science does, and that observation doesn't line up with the world, then it wouldn't be good science and it wouldn't get published. So, like, I feel like truth and stuff like that can just arise from the process of doing good science, you know? Like, it kind of self selects for truth, it doesn't need some kind of objective truth.
No, it does need objective truth, and you need like ought claim. You need prescriptive claims. So when science makes like descriptive claims,
Yeah.
science tries to describe reality. So
Yes.
we don't get, no matter how many descriptions of reality you stack on top of each other, that doesn't get you to like a prescription of reality.
I totally agree. Yeah, you can't get an ought from an is.
So that's why like science does rely on God. It
But
can't.
science doesn't try to give oughts. Science just gives ises.
It relies on them though, because if there's no reason to like be on it, if every scientist lied, science would cease to function.
Well, yeah, but then that's what I'm saying though, is kind of like if every scientist lied, then the scientists who didn't lie would be the ones people listen to, would be the
That
ones that get
means
published.
science relies on ethics. It can't function without ethics, and it gets ethics from God. So science relies on all these things that only God can demonstrate to be the case.
But ethics only comes from God. It can't come from culture and things like that.
No, because only the mind of God can make ethics real. My mind doesn't make things real. So we can't make the human mind do what only God's mind can do.
Do you think like ethics are objectively real?
They have to be.
Like they're like you believe in like evil and good as like real things that exist?
Yeah, that has to be the case. It's like it'd be a contradiction to say that they don't exist.
I think that they exist kind of like culturally, um, but I don't think that like there's a real thing called evil. You know what I mean?
Okay, but then that's absurd, because then you couldn't say anything is true. Like if good and evil isn't real, then truth isn't real. And if truth isn't real, then now we're in Looney Tunes. Anything is true. Now your life's a fantasy.
Well, there is a true base reality, but like it's obvious that our senses deceive us and things like that. So like figuring out what that true base reality is hard. But like
But
I like
you need a universal standard So like, think of a bullseye, right? And
Yep.
we're trying. Truth is like you're trying to hit the mark. You're trying to hit the bullseye. But if the bullseye doesn't exist, or the bullseye is like moving or something, then truth is just a guessing game. You need like a fixed bullseye, like an objective standard, so you can actually hit the mark and it like means something and it matters. So you need God, who's unchanging and eternal. So you have a stationary bullseye. In any other view, the bullseye is either doesn't exist or it's like shifting.
I kind of get what you're saying on like a big picture level, but I think like everyday like practicality, like how we actually figure out if stuff is true or not, is by just kind of like aiming for the bullseye, and it's kind of like throwing noodles at the wall and seeing what sticks. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how science works too. It's just like
That's
we have a
just,
theory, we're going to test it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But when it does work, okay, then now we know that a little bit more about.
you're doing a sharpshooter fallacy, which is like you're just shooting aimlessly. I don't even know if I can say that word. You're pew-pewing aimlessly, and whatever like the arrow hits, then you walk up to the arrow and then you draw a bullseye around the arrow. So
No, not necessarily. That's not what science tries to do. Science.
Well, that's exactly what it is.
That's what science does.
Yes.
I just don't. I don't see how that's true at all. Because science is just making observations about the universe.
Because
Just
what?
making
Yeah.
observations
So
about
what do they observe that's unchanging and eternal, so that they could have an objective standard? They don't. Science can't give us that. So what science does is they just aim, and then whatever they hit, they draw a bullseye around it, and they go, "Look, it's true."
Okay.
That's what they do.
Do you believe in some scientific findings and stuff? Like, do you trust science at all?
Yeah, because as a Christian, I don't have that problem because I believe in God, who's unchanging and eternal. So I have a bullseye to hit as a Christian. Where if you're not a Christian, there's no bullseye.
So, can there be like atheist scientists that figure out true stuff?
Because they live in the Christian world. But so their atheism would be inconsistent with their science.
Interesting.
It'd be like a contradiction. What is that called? Like when you have contradictory beliefs. I forget.
It's like I know what you're talking. Cognitive dissonance or something.
Yes. Cognitive dissonance. Yes.
Yeah. I kind of see what you're saying. Like I do. Like there needs to be some kind of like objective grounding for there to be any truth at all.
Yeah.
I think I just feel differently about that like capital T truth. I don't think that like a capital T truth has to exist. Um, I just think that like we can kind of, I don't know, just like go through the world, and if shit works, then it works. We don't have to know like the absolute capital T truth about the thing to know that it's probably real, it probably works. You know what I mean?
Okay, but I kind of like to be, I don't know, logical and stuff. So it's like, to me, we're gonna need the bullseye. I was just gonna make a point about the bullseye. God, no, I forgot. we need a bullseye. So I don't know, like.
But that's my thing with like morality too. Like when we get into the arguments about like what's right and wrong, it's always really hard to get in those debates as someone who doesn't believe that there's like objectively good and objectively bad, because then they'll be like, "Oh, you think killing somebody is okay because there's no objectively bad thing." And I'm like, "No, I don't think that it's okay." But I'm not appealing to some kind of objective capital B bad. I'm just saying that like it is bad for other reasons. You know what I mean?
Sure, but now we're kind of just like anime debating. We're not talking about reality now. We're talking about like, can Goku beat up Superman or something like that?
I don't think so. I mean,
No, that is the case. If you can't even define what the good is because there's no objective standard, there's no bullseye, then we're just talking about like fantasy.
We can attempt to define like what good is. Like it's going to be different things for different
We
people, but
can't. But we can't. It's a contradiction.
well, it's going to be different things for
Oh,
different.
here's what I was gonna say. So like, unless the bullseye is a person who speaks to us, we can never know the bullseye. Because otherwise it'd just be like, if the bullseye isn't a person that talks to you, you're just inventing the bullseye. The bullseye is just your opinion, your preference. So we need like a source of truth, an objective standard of truth that's like a person that talks to us.
Yeah.
That's what Jesus is. Jesus says, I am the truth, not I know the truth. So I have a referent in reality. Like I believe truth is a person. But that actually makes sense. Because now I have a bullseye. If truth isn't a person, there's no bullseye.
Okay. So I hear you. That makes sense. I think Christians run into the problem of taking let's assume that like capital T truth is necessary, that this bullseye is necessary. I think the problem is taking that kind of like ultimate universe foundation and then being like kind of getting it into the Bible, getting it into Jesus. Let's say that God was necessary for the universe to start. Let's say that he's necessary for all truth in the universe. Why do we know that it's specifically Jesus and not some other prophet who claims to have that truth?
Well, that would have to do with the attribute sets. Like when we look at Muhammad, there's no public revelation. It's just a guy making shit up. And so I think that falls into the same problem as like the non-believers. You're just making shit up. Or like a Joseph Smith in Mormonism. There's no public revelation. It's just some dude making shit up. Where when we look at Christianity, we have public revelation. We have Jesus had a public ministry. Jesus was publicly crucified, died, resurrected, all in public. So we have an objective revelation. These other gods are usually just like people making shit up.
So I still feel like it's hard to like.
Well, I see like what you're saying is like, because what I'm doing is I'm starting with the Bible. The Bible's like my starting point, and that's my like unchanging, eternal foundation. And then
Yes.
I build my like house of truth. So I have a foundation for my house of truth.
Yeah.
You might say, well, that's not really philosophy. You're just doing theology at that point, which is a fair criticism because I am starting with God's revelation. But like, I would argue that if you go, well, you don't want to do theology and you want to just do philosophy, then it ends in like a broken system because ultimately you're going to be building like your house on shifting ground or shifting sand. And so if your truth house or your house of reason is built on shifting sand, that means truth can shift. And if truth can shift, then anything is true. And if anything can be true, then it's kind of a contradiction to even argue.
I totally like that's a like kind of a brain teaser, but as much as I can understand that, I do understand that. You know what I mean? But because like I don't feel like I have that like the same way that you have the Bible as a foundation for truth. I don't have that same kind of foundation. So I get what you're saying. Like anything can be true. It's kind of hard to argue if you're with someone like me, maybe because it's like my idea of what's true and real can shift possibly. But I also think that it's hard for me to argue with you because it's like you already know what's true. Your mind can't be changed because you're starting with truth. You know what I mean?
It's like you're saying my foundation isn't correct. And then I'm like, well, then what's the correct foundation? And it's like you don't really have one to offer. You see what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah. No, I totally get it. All I'm saying is like, if it was like in a hypothetical world, if some other religion or was true, or if Christianity wasn't true, it would be a huge blind spot to you since you're starting with Christianity being true. You understand what I'm saying? Like, at least from
Well,
my
yeah,
perspective, I can look at different things.
that's why I want to be evidence based, and I don't want to just like believe something for, I want to have a good reason. So that's why I offer this like challenge. Like, okay, if it's not my God, what is it? But like no one can really answer the challenge except for Christianity. And it's not like I've set some arbitrary standards, because the standards are like come from like logic itself. Like I just look at, okay, we have logic. What has to be true for logic to be true? And then that creates like it's not an arbitrary standard. It's based on logic.
I understand that, but if we're being true, like following logic as close as we can, then we have to point out that your argument is circular, because I imagine if I was to say like, well, my foundation for truth is logic, and we just start with I think therefore I am, or whatever, wherever we start with logic, and then I build my truth on that, you'd be like, oh, well, how do we know that logic is true? God must be the grounds for logic, therefore God exists. And it's like, that's a circular argument, which is a logical fallacy.
No, my argument isn't. You're confusing the argument for the assumptions. So we all have assumptions,
Okay.
and there's going to be circularity within our assumptions, which is unavoidable. But I'm making an argument about who has the correct assumptions. So the argument isn't circular. There would be circularity within the assumptions, but that's not like a logical issue.
I feel like your assumption is God exists, and then your conclusion is God exists. You know what I mean?
Well, but every argument, you're gonna believe the conclusion's true before you make the argument. You're not gonna like start with, I think Islam is true. Now I'm gonna make an argument for Buddhism, and I'm gonna conclude Christianity is true. Like that's inconsistent. So when we start with believing the conclusion, that's just consistency.
You can start off believing the conclusion, but using your conclusion as an assumption to get you to your conclusion is circular. It'd be like saying, the sky is blue. I look up at the sky and it's blue, therefore the sky is blue. Like, you see what I'm saying? It's just like,
There's a difference between necessary facts and contingent. I don't know. I don't want to use philosophy words.
I don't even know philosophy words.
So think about it this way: like, an argument is just like fact, conclusion, basically. Like,
Okay.
dumbing it down, obviously.
Yeah.
But I believe God creates all facts that are not Himself.
Mhm.
So I'm going to have to use facts God created. I can't use facts God didn't create to prove God created all facts. You see what I'm saying? I have to use facts God created to prove God creates all facts. Like you could say that's circular, but then what are you doing? You're using facts God didn't create to prove God didn't create all facts. You see what I'm saying? So it's like circularity on both sides. So that circularity is not really an issue in the argument, because it's like a worldview circularity. It's not an argument circularity.
I kind of see where you're coming from.
Right? Because you believe God, you would argue God didn't create all facts if you're not a Christian, or you don't believe in God or whatever. But you're gonna be using facts God didn't create to say God didn't create all facts. That would be a kind of circularity. Well, I'm using facts God created to prove God created all facts. You could say that's circular, but it's a worldview circularity. It's not an argument circularity.
Well, but I mean, if I was to start off with God didn't create all facts, that is an implied assumption that I think God exists. He just didn't make all facts. So I would start off, instead of saying God didn't create all facts, my first thing would be God doesn't exist. There are facts. God didn't create all facts. You know what I'm saying?
No, but if God exists, He creates all facts that are not Himself. So like,
Sure.
You can't have a God and then there's facts that exist that God didn't create, unless it's Himself.
Like, I'll grant you that. I'm just saying, like, what if there isn't a God and there are still facts? Like we have to.
Well, you would have to
God exists.
you have to defend that position. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Facts require a narrative, and like the Bible makes facts facts. If you deny that narrative, you're saying there's some other narrative that makes facts facts, but there isn't. Because we can demonstrate that. That's what I'm saying. That's my argument, that you're basically denying facts implicitly when you deny the Bible. So the Bible's necessary for facts.
Gotcha. I mean, I don't think that's true because, like, you can look at 1 + 1 = 2 is a fact, and that is outside of any theology. That is just true because it's defined as true.
No. For 1 + 1 to = 2, you need something that's unchanging and eternal, because 1 + 1 = 2 was true before humans. So you need a mind that's eternal. That's God.
I think, like, I don't think it has to be that complicated for 1 + 1 to = 2. I don't think you need anything eternal. You just need the idea of 1 and the idea of 2.
But it's a truth statement. So
Yes.
that it's like there's like a mental substance that makes it true. So for there to be a necessary, it's basically a thought. 1 + 1 = 2 is a thought. So for there to be a necessary thought, you have to have a necessary mind. But human minds are not necessary. Human minds could not exist. We could wipe out all the human minds.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting, like, puzzle. Like, does 1 + 1 = 2 if there are no minds?
It literally, math proves God. It proves God. That's what I'm telling you.
I just don't think so. I think
I just give you the proof,
something humans invented.
It can't be. It's a contradiction because 1 + 1 was.
math.
Are you saying 1 + 1 wasn't true and then humans made it true?
Okay, think of it like this. Color doesn't exist without eyes to see it.
That's not objective.
What are you talking about?
Color isn't objective. Color is something that we invent.
Yes, that's what I'm saying about numbers.
But that doesn't work because math is objective. You believe that the math in the bridge, you think it's real, so you drive over the bridge. If you didn't think math was real, you wouldn't drive over the bridge because you'd be worried the bridge would collapse.
No, like I don't think
Yes.
color. I don't think color exists outside of my mind, but I still stop at red
Math
stops.
exists outside of your mind because you drive over a bridge. If the math that went into they use math to design the bridge. If that's not real, then there's no reason to think the bridge would collapse when you drive over it, right?
There's a difference between it being real and being invented. Something can be invented and still be real.
I understand that, but the problem is math is eternal. And how does a human invent something that's eternal? How do I know
it's eternal?
Because
That's the claim.
if it's not, then 1 + 1 could = 3.
I don't understand that at all.
If humans invent math, 1 + 1 could = 3. But that's not true. 1 + 1 is necessarily 2. So humans can't invent something like that. We're not capable of doing that. But there is something that can invent math. That is the mind of God.
Okay, I mean, maybe I think it is.
It's his logic, bro.
I think that it is like a debate, like whether math was invented or discovered. I'm not an expert. I have no idea.
Not. I'm giving you the contradiction. Math proves God. There's a philosophy paper.
Okay. If math, do you agree that math requires a mind to exist?
Yes, math is conceptual.
Okay.
Conceptual.
And you're basing it in God's mind, so therefore math is eternal and proves God. If I don't believe in God, then you can obviously see how I come to the conclusion that math came about when minds came about in evolution.
And that's a contradiction. I pointed out the contradiction.
How is that a contradiction?
Because then, before humans, 1 + 1 didn't = 2. So then it's not necessary that 1 plus 1 equals 2. So then 1 plus 1 could equal 3. And then math completely collapses and breaks down. If 1 plus 1 can equal 3, if I can't even convince you 1 plus 1 equals 2, then how am I going to convince you God exists? Because you're clearly irrational.
I feel like you're not getting me. Can we use the color analogy?
I'm getting you. You want to say humans invent math or humans create math. But if humans create...
Not really create, but like it doesn't exist until human minds are there to perceive it.
Dude, it's either created or discovered. It's either created or discovered. What
about color? Is color, the color red, is it created or is it discovered?
You're an asshole. Welcome, neighbor.
What's up, my neighbor?
Just talking really intellectual heel draggers. Like, God's so obvious. I don't get this.
Yeah, I was listening to your facts exist syllogism.
Yeah.
Facts require a narrative.
Yep.
What are facts?
States of affairs.
Facts are states of affairs.
Yeah, that make a proposition true.
Facts are states of affairs that make a proposition true?
Yeah.
Where are you getting that definition from?
Why does it matter?
Because I don't believe it's a useful definition.
I don't give a shit.
What do you mean you don't give a shit?
I don't care about definitions. If you want to talk about definitions, go to another live.
So are you only proving this semantically? Are you basically Shark, but cheaper?
Okay.
Come on, man. Don't be that way.
Do you have a response?
Yeah.
Okay.
Facts were around before the narrative, so they don't need a narrative to exist.
Well, that's not in Christianity. God is the eternal. Nothing is around before God.
So why didn't he just give the very first people that had different books his book first?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, how does God create all facts?
How does he dictates the states of affairs, what is, what can, what cannot be. Impossible and possibility flows from God's omnipotence.
So you're saying God creates objective data points?
He speaks reality into existence.
I don't think you can claim that.
Why not?
Because you have no way to demonstrate it besides a Bronze Age book.
Well, we're not trying to reason to God. We're reasoning from revelation. So how do you ground logic if you don't reason from revelation?
Why do you need a reason from revelation?
Because a human mind can't ground logic. So we need the mind of God to ground logic.
So was gravity false before Newton?
Well, gravity is a law. Where's the law? Who's the law maker?
That's a silly claim.
Okay, well, if you don't want to answer my, I can just move on. You believe in the law of gravity. What's the law maker?
So your particular story is the source of all reality.
Answer my question. What's the law maker?
That's not how laws work. It's
okay,
not
bye.
Goodbye. It's a description of what things.
Goodbye. Welcome, neighbor.
Hello, neighbor. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
I'm just curious, how do you prove something that's based on faith?
We give evidence and proof for the position.
But the whole thing is that you need to have faith, right?
Yeah.
You can't.
Faith would be connected to evidence, right?
Okay, I'm just curious. I'm new. I only got like 6 minutes, and I'm new in this live. How is Christianity objectively proven?
That facts require a narrative to provide a basis for why anything's true or false.
No. Like specifically, like what is the proof that Christianity is objective?
It's the if facts, then the Bible's true. Facts exist, therefore the Bible's true.
Which facts show that the Bible is true?
All facts implicitly reference the Bible.
All facts.
All facts. So God made it so that belief in the Bible is rationally obligatory. Because if you don't believe the Bible, you're going to have to tell me what narrative makes a fact true. That's not the narrative of the God in Scripture.
Well, I mean, humans are inherently fallible, right?
Yeah, that's the problem.
So, but the Bible was written by humans who are inherently fallible.
Yeah, but we believe that they were inspired by God and the Holy Spirit, so that.
Do you have proof for that?
Yeah, if you reject that the Bible is infallible, then you'll be reduced to absurdity because you couldn't ground any certainty.
You didn't really prove anything right there.
Okay, you just conceded. You just conceded that humans are fallible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if we don't have any infallible foundation for truth, then you have no truth. So the revelation would be the only infallible foundation for truth.
But how do we know that it's infallible? We don't have that.
I told you the absurdity of the contrary. So if you reject revelation, now nothing's true. But
so like, why isn't like the Quran like how about the Quran? Like, couldn't the Quran be that infallible truth?
No, because in Christianity we have a public revelation. Jesus had a public ministry. He publicly was crucified and resurrected. And so we have an objective revelation. Whereas Islam or like Mormonism is just like some dude making shit up.
I mean, well, I could say the exact same thing about anyone who wrote.
Okay, so now, arguments. Okay, so now all of our arguments are we just make shit up, and you want to sit here and argue with me? I don't want to listen to you make shit up. Provide a basis for why anything's true or false, please.
Well, no, you're taking the positive claim.
Everything you say is noise. Everything you say is noise because you've not provided a basis for why anything is true or false. I've laid my basis out on the table. I am not ashamed of the majesty of the Bible. That is my basis.
I'm not asking you to be ashamed. I'm not even saying don't be a Christian. I'm just curious.
Behold
the claim
Bible.
That it's objectively.
I just put the
claim that it's objectively proven, and then
dude,
God is improvable.
Hello. Yeah, I just slapped my Bible on the table, and I'm saying this is my position. This is my starting point, so that I can say something's true.
That's fine for it to be a starting point.
Right. So how do you say something's true without? Because you deny that. So then, what's your starting point?
I'm not making a truth claim.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm not interested.
I'm attacking your truth claim.
I'm not interested in having a conversation with you. You're
the one who you're the one who you haven't proven anything.
Okay, and you're bad faith. So, and everything you say is no.
How am I bad faith? What have I said is bad faith?
There's no reason to listen to anything you say because you're not putting your position on the table. So that's bad faith.
No, we're taught you were the one who made a claim. I'm attacking.
When you don't,
this is how conversations
when you don't give your position, that's the definition of bad faith, and that's fine. You can be bad faith. So I'll just keep being a Christian.
Bad faith.
Okay, well you can think that. It's your right to be wrong. Welcome, neighbor.
Hey, how's it going?
I do be fine.
Just out of curiosity, how is Christianity objectively proven?
Christianity is objectively proven because the Bible is necessary for facts. So I can say, like, if facts, then the Bible's true. Facts exist. Therefore,
wait, hold on. True. But what do you mean? The Bible has incorrect facts in it.
According to what? So what narrative makes facts a fact if it's not the Bible, then? How do you have facts without the Bible?
Something that's repeatable and demonstratable?
No. I'm asking you, what is unchanging and eternal?
Not the Bible. It changes all the time.
The Bible does not change all the time. Can we be serious?
It's been translated billions, like thousands of times. Not billions.
It's not. It doesn't change it.
So, what version do you read?
The King James.
Why don't you read the NIV version?
I do that on Thursdays.
Okay. So, which version's correct? Which one's true?
That's not. It's not like
Don't you
I
see
would
the
have,
problem? Don't you see the problem here?
no, because I would object to the premise of the question. Like it's not
Yeah,
a
which one's more true?
I object to the premise of the question
Why?
because it's not. They can those both translation contain the same propositions. So to ask like which is more true, it's like doesn't make any sense.
Then why is there two different translations? Why is there only one?
Because that's so you there's word for word translations and then there's meaning for meaning translations and then most
And
translations.
what's the NIV and what's the
Excuse
King
me,
James
I'm
version?
if you're going to interrupt me again and be so rude, I'm just going to move on. So you have word for word translations, you have meaning for meaning translations, and then you have like hybrids. Like, so every translation is on a scale of like they're trying to be accurate to the words and they're trying to be accurate to the meaning. So we have different translations.
Okay, so if
That doesn't mean
I'm
they
sorry,
say,
I thought you were done.
it doesn't mean they say different things.
So they say the same things in different ways,
Yes.
and neither is more true than the other. They're exactly the same amount of truth,
Yes.
and it's the truth you. But wait, I forget why. Why is it? But what proves the Bible true? That's the
It's
big problem,
necessary.
isn't it?
It's necessary. So facts, truth isn't just raw data. It lives in a narrative, and without the right story, your facts have no context. And only the Christian narrative, revealed by God in Scripture, actually explains why truth has meaning, why logic works, and why morality matters.
Where does it explain how logic works?
Logic requires like an unchanging eternal foundation. And so God is the unchanging eternal foundation from which he grounds logic.
But do you know the last time that your NIV was not NIV, King James version was updated and edited?
No.
So it's not unchanging then, is it?
Oh, okay.
Right?
That is so low tier, bro. B, corporate election. Oh wait, I already read this. So, okay. C, individual pretemporal election. In this viewpoint, election is that eternal act of God whereby he, in his sovereign good pleasure, and on account of no foreseen merit in them, chooses a certain number of men to be the recipients of special grace and of eternal salvation. Thus, election is unconditional. For example, there is nothing in the creature that conditions God's choice. Pretemporal, before the foundation of the world, unmerited, for example, of grace, and the basis of salvation. Those who hold this view also acknowledge that election is in Christ, but they mean that he is the ground and cause and guarantee of the election of individuals. They reject the corporate election concept, insisting rather that God elected individuals and not on the basis of foresight. And those elect individuals form the group, the church. Well, yeah, what is the difference? The church is a group of individuals. So whether he elects the group or the individuals, like, is that really that? Why is that a big deal? Welcome.
Yo,
What would you like to say?
let's talk about number 4. I like abortion. Abortion's cool.
You like it?
Yeah, I like when women have the choice to
That's sick. So why does it matter if election is to an individual or a group?